Okay, so we are back. And we've won the die roll, so we're going to be playing first. It's good. Another tricky hand here. I think it's probably a keep. Any land gets us to natural connections, and island gets us dimensional infiltrator. We have retreat Kazandu down the line and a few other big things. This is a tricky one. I don't love keeping a hand like this, but I don't think it gets a lot better for our deck on average. So just have to run it and hope that works out. Well, we got a 2-drop. So at least we have something to do. Still need that third land. Alright. I think I'm happy to trade. I want to see what my opponent is willing to do. I want to start getting counters down on this. Give it trample, that sort of thing. It's going to be fairly handy. That's why our opponent didn't want to offer the trade. They were planning to get in for a bit of damage here. Fortunately for them, it means they also can't block this time. So we'll attack. Let them select their blockers. Get in for another point. Right, not a bad little start. We haven't come out the fastest, but I think it's working well so far. Opponent clearly willing to throw a bit of damage around. No land there is unfortunate. And our opponent with first strike means I can't really afford to attack, so we're going to get the gravity negator down. Yes, Magic Online, I have no other way of playing that spell. Flare Drone, going to be a bit of a problem. One more land means I can block effectively. But until we hit another land, going to be in a lot of trouble. So, alright, so we hit the land, which is excellent. Still can't attack with the Baloth pup at this point, but I can give this guy a counter. Now I'm in a position where I do want to preserve my life total. If I can draw a colourless source, I can get the Baloth pup and the gravity negator through. Barrage Turret is going to make short work of my life total. It's unable to throw everything at me yet. So the question is, where does my counter go if I were to play it that way? I think for now I just want to get in the air. Let's yield. Willing to throw his Scourer away, or a natural endurance. Yep, so we're going to be losing out here. Don't need to turn that on. So it's going to be a close one. He can keep beating him with this flyer, but I'm going to start being able to deal some real damage. The problem is, at some point, Barrage Turret is going to be able to kill me. So I need to be prepared for that eventuality. So effectively I need to start putting pressure on my opponent and force them into difficult attacks and blocks. Down to 11. So at the moment my opponent can buff here to force a trade with either of these two. Still has first strike here, so this guy can't attack. But I need to put pressure on, so I think I send these in. Offer the trade. The other thing he can do is jump and throw with Barrage Tyrant. Alright, so just going to take the trade. I'm pretty okay with that. Right, so the plan here is to try to ambush my opponent's Sky Scourer. And one more land means I can get my Eldrazi Devastator in play as well. Currently throws 6 damage at me. So I'm effectively at 5 life. Gonna be a very intense little game. Just going the flunge. Let's get the Infiltrator into play. Alright, let's remove the blocks. With 2 cards in hand, there's any number of things that could happen. I think taking out the Barrage Turret is priority 1. You can activate this ability twice, but it doesn't protect it, so Bailiff Pup trading with the Sentinel here. And then blocking here. Now this means I can't get Eldrazi Devastator down next turn. But if he hasn't got a trick, that leaves his 3-1 against my 6-5. I take 3. Of all the combinations of attacks, this is probably the least expected. So sacrificing that to deal 3 damage here. Okay, so he's going to sack 2 creatures to try and kill this. Of course, the next return. Okay. So what that's going to do is kill off all of my things here. Which means I want to attempt to return the infiltrator. Didn't work. Alright, so that means we are going to be pretty well screwed here. Alright, well, we lost out a little bit, but our opponent didn't exactly benefit a great deal from that. Alright, so let's swing on in. They're at the low life total, so they kind of have to defend. And Hedron Archive is going to start cleaning it up after that. I don't think he can fireball me to death here. Translator. Alright. Alright, the land is pretty perfect because he has to block. The question is, do I want to gain 2 life instead? Because he throws 3 at me. Or I can force the pup to stay alive. I think I'd rather keep the pup alive, or attempt to. So we'll attempt to put a counter on. Now he can kill it in response. Happy enough for him to do that out of fear. Yeah, so I'm going to need to use that. So my opponent needs removal, and needs it fast. There are a couple of ways they can get out of it. But not a lot of good ones. I'm not going to risk a combat trick killing me, so if they have a way to kill it, they're welcome to. A Boulder Salvo would finish off the Devastator here. Alright. So, looking over in the sideboard, we haven't got a great deal to bring in. Didn't see much in the way of flyers, so not to worry about Plummet. Didn't see much in the way of artifacts or enchantments, so not too worried about reclaiming. I think we're probably just going to be running it back. Not much in blue that needs to come in. It's a fairly aggressive deck. It's possible I want Cultivator Drone to be able to activate stuff like Deep Fathom Skulker or Dimensional Infiltrator. I think we can run it back. Okay. Let's see. So have access to a Scion Summoner turn 3. Again, a blue mana will let me have Dimensional Infiltrator. I'm pretty sure this is the third or fourth match in which that has been the case. I'm going to go with the keep. Ramping into Canopy Gorger or something similar is pretty appealing. Multiple Scion Summoners is going to make that much easier. And my opponent not doing anything yet, so that's a good sign. That's a little bit annoying. Can't deny. Hopefully he hasn't got access to a colourless mana. Force me to trade 3 drops, which I would do. I have up to my 4th mana now, I have access to blue, so I'm not as worried as I once was. At the moment, without colourless mana, he can't effectively attack into the Scion Summoner. But he is willing to trade 3 drops, so... why not? No follow-up play either. That leaves the door open for a couple of things. I think that means I want to ramp with my Hedron Archive. This allows me to start doing multiple things. Putting me at 6 mana allows me to play a Scion Summoner and Comparative Analysis in the same turn. Or just slam a Canopy Gorger if that's a more appropriate line. Which it appears to be. So I'm up to 7. These two can be put down in the same turn as can Comparative Analysis. I can run out a Scion Summoner and then Comparative Analysis end step. We're going to just mistap our mana and advertise that we have nothing. This way, if I get the Land of Devastators down, if I don't, things like Scion Summoner plus Comparative Analysis is good. I doubt that I'm going to block if he wants to attack. Particularly not now. But if he was swinging in, I'd be far too worried about a trick coming down. So I don't think I could afford to block. Will I be blocking this time is our next question. I think I can play the trading life game. This allows me the most options. I can Comparative Analysis or Dimensional Infiltrator at the end of the turn, depending on which seems most appropriate. And it means that I will get an Eldrazi Devastator in play next turn, even without drawing a land. Given I'm drawing 3 cards, that seems unlikely though. Alright, opponent, what do you have? 5 cards in hand seems like you should have something. And my life total is becoming important, so I'm going to jump off with the summoner here. I'm not going to have too much trouble about getting more cards to play. So. Of course, course, I should read the cards because it has tramples, doing 2 damage anyway. My opponent's so baffled by my line that they've forgotten what to do. We're going to comparative analysis. I will be drawing the cards. Like that. Right. A few tempting little options present themselves. Deep Fathom Skulker at 6. It spends my entire turn, but I also draw 2 cards. So get in for 7, draw 2 cards, have a blocker if I need to. It also leaves the option of, if I draw an island, I'll be able to play the Infiltrator. I think that's the way to go. Excellent. Always yield. Yes, I would. And yes, I would. Alright, so I got the island. Because I've cast this, I can also therefore play Draw for Surge cost. So let's do that. Opponent's in a bit of a bind now. They need to get rid of Deep Fathom Skulker, or they will be very likely dead next turn. The fact that they've had 4 or 5 cards in hand this whole time and haven't played them is utterly baffling. They have plenty of mana, whether there's several double black cards or whether there's something else going on. I'd love to know what's going on behind my opponent's hand. Alright, so at this point, my opponent is dead. So, removal spell or they lose. Is it Fall of the Titans? That would be quite a card here. Looks like it. Fall for 3. Doesn't look like I can do anything much better than that. Opponent still takes 6 and goes to 1. interested in using that ability. And I don't need to play any more land, so we'll keep Fertile Thicket in hand. I may want to use it for embodiment or something like that. Alright, my opponent is back to find removal or die. Apparently they had a lot of lands and not much else in their hand. But we get through, got the win in that one. I mean, we got flooded last time, so it's sort of karmic justice that my opponent gets flooded at some point. Got through on round 2, and looks like we'll be rolling pretty much straight into round 3. So I'll just cut the video and see you guys in a few minutes in round 3.